Previously in X-Men. The X-Men have survived their battle with the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants and their second encounter with the subterranean-dwelling Morlocks. But at a significant cost. Colossus was nearly killed and will need significant recovery, and Kitty Pryde's life continues to wreak havoc on her emotionally. Her deep feelings for Colossus were brought to light, and her growing disconnect with team leader Storm have young Kitty struggling to stay grounded. The Claremont soap opera is in full effect. I am Jason Lapidus.
I'm Chris Sanagan.
And we are Group of 7 Comics. Welcome to episode 98 of our ongoing Tuesday night live stream read-through of the X-Men comics that became classic as we read Uncanny X-Men 180 by writer Chris Claremont, penciler John Romita Jr., inked by Dan Green and Bob Wiacek. Cover date of April 1984. Chris, how are you?
I'm good. I'm enjoying this soap opera, the journey that we're on right now. It's a little different. We haven't even talked about Doug. The Dougler, as we refer to him.
Sure. It's funny. He sneaks up on us.
Like all good Dougs. They sneak up on you.
He sneaks up on us. I didn't realize he was such an important character already. I'm familiar with the character of Doug Ramsey from a later point in continuity and a later point in my childhood and reading history, but I didn't know he was already part of the narrative. So he sneaks into this issue. He was in a previous one. They were at a diner, I think, or a restaurant. But because you and I are not reading New Mutants, I'm wondering if he's popping up there as well. So
we are seeing lots of that. We are seeing lots of See New Mutants issue 15, See New Mutants issue, See the Magic miniseries. So there is, if you didn't know, there are a number of concurrent titles happening at the same time.
And it's Claremont, right? This is all Claremont narrative. So he has these. He's writing both X-Men and New Mutants, and New Mutants is about a year and a little bit in, and all of these side series he is writing as well. So he wrote the Magic limited series, he wrote the Wolverine limited series, written the New Mutants graphic novel, the X-Men graphic novel, which we still have not yet covered. Which I got to get on that and make sure that happens. God Loves, Man Kills.
Right, I was going to say we did read it, but we
read it.
We
haven't recorded the episode.
That's right.
And of course, there is the upcoming Kitty Pryde Wolverine limited series, which I'm going to put in your hands Thursday.
That's a lot of series.
Well, maybe he's only doing one a year, right? Like 82 is Wolverine, maybe 83 is Magic, and maybe about 84 is going to be the Kitty Pryde Wolverine limited series. Which I still have not finished reading, but it's okay. It's just life, But I'm going to put I think it's 5 or 6 issues I'll put that in your hand this week. So that's cool. But that brings us, of course, to tonight. This beautiful issue. I'm going to bring that cover up here. Whoa.
Pretty, Kitty, pretty.
Do you like this cover?
I will say... So I like the use of as an image. I'm not quite sure. I love the image, but there's things a couple of things I do like. I like the use of purple, and I also like how Kitty seems to be finally dressed appropriately. And by that, not that she was dressed inappropriately to how someone might take that. Just weren't quite sure. This looks like a teenage girl. And,
sure.
And it just seems on model of where she is in this storyline. So actually, I did really quite enjoy that. I think she looks great.
Again, my entry point into X-Men was that Storm, spoilers, was powerless when she has the Mohawk.
Right.
And so I never saw her flying and using her powers with this look. So whenever I saw this as a kid, it just didn't make sense to me. I was like, hold on, that doesn't go with what I already believe.
There's no cape there. The cape helps her fly.
Right, and the long hair helps her fly.
Ridiculous. Yeah. Happy Halloween, David, as well. Thanks for
Yes,
joining.
of course. Hey, speaking of Halloween and you being a Toronto guy,
Mm-hmm.
are you familiar with the term shouting?
Shouting?
Yes.
No.
So back in the day,
Yeah. You sure this is like a
Torontonians.
Richmond Hill thing? You think Toronto?
No, no. It's not a Richmond Hill thing. Back in the day, before, we different cities had shared traditions when it came to this modern thing. Before we used to say, before the days of trick or treat, Torontonians used to go door to door. The little kids would say they'd say shit like shell out, the goblins are about," or things
Right.
like that.
Right.
And they would ask, instead of saying like, give me candy, they would ask the people, the homes, to give them to shell out.
Yeah.
And it was all like just apples or whatever they could give. Like if you
Yeah.
think pre World War II Toronto, like there isn't, I guess there's not packaged chocolate,
Yeah.
So so the verb became like, to go trick or treating wasn't trick or treating, it was
Right.
shell outing.
Huh.
And growing up, my parents and grandparents would say to me, like, "Oh, like, are you going shell outing this year?" Or, did you? They would still say that. And so growing up, I thought it was just like a Jewish word or a Yiddish.
That's what I'm like. It sounds
Right?
uncanny like a Jewish thing.
Right. You can see what I was thinking.
Yeah.
But then I learned over time that no, it was a colloquialism within Toronto.
That is interesting. I
And
have never heard it before.
there's like historical record of poems written at the time
Right.
that are talking about the children shell-outing
Right.
and doing the shell out, the goblins are about, or whatever they would want to say. And there you go. So I was wondering, since you're a Toronto guy too,
I am. Yeah.
if you had heard that word, and maybe your parents are familiar with it. Who knows?
I'll have to ask my dad. My mom is originally from. I mean, she grew up in Toronto, but born in Alberta. But my dad tends to be up on the Torontoisms.
Right.
Torontisms.
Right.
Whatever that word is.
I spoke to a septuagenarian today, or is he an octogenarian? And he's from Guelph, and he was familiar with it. He's like, "Oh, I haven't heard that in a long time." But yeah, he knew that. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, there you go. David likes that you're like Alberta or something, I think.
I don't know. One of those provinces.
Yeah, one of those other provinces.
Those provinces is not Ontario.
You didn't dress up to go out with your kids, or did you?
So no, I was planning to. I did go with my kids, but I dressed up all day at work, and so I was at the office today. What's that?
I didn't see any photos. What were you dressed up as?
I have a Cowardly Lion from the Wizard of Oz outfit costume that a few years ago Penny wanted a Wizard of Oz birthday, so we bought family costumes, and so it doubles as just a regular lion costume. And it's quite toasty. It's quite nice to wear on out on Halloween because it's like wearing one big furry onesie.
Yeah.
But I wore it. We had a big meeting today at work, so I wore it and I facilitated a bunch of stuff in like kind of a classroom situation as the Cowardly Lion. And then I had it on until about 3:00, and I was like, probably sweated out 10 pounds. I'm like, okay,
nice.
I think I'm done wearing this thing.
That's good.
Yeah, no, it was fun. It was fun. Yeah. So yeah, but I did take the kids out with some friends tonight and just kind of had a bit of a road drink with us, and it was quite nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And also there's a couple of great houses out there that for the parents helping out the kids, there was just like hot cider, and it was nice.
That's pretty good.
It was very good. We said, "Is there any whiskey in the cider?" And she was like, "I was going to." I'm like, "Next time, or we egg your home." That's what it was.
Chuck says, "Happy Canadian Christmas, y'all."
Happy Canuck Christmas, Chuck.
I will say, Chuck, you have to understand, at least if you don't already or know this, that it wouldn't be a Canadian Halloween if kids weren't wearing their winter coat over their costume at some point. So every kid has these aspirations for a beautiful costume, and those dreams are dashed.
They always look good.
Experience the weather.
They're always like good because it's indoors, and then they come home and they're so excited to go back out, and it's like throwing a coat. But it covers up throwing a coat.
Like one of my friends, kids, he's dressed as Carnage. He's
Right.
maybe 8 years old, and he's so happy wearing like the muscle bodysuit, all the red and black, and
Because we all know that Carnage is a character for 8-year-olds.
that being said, he's got to wear his winter coat, and it kills it completely.
That's
So
like
who
that.
are you?
That reminds me, Jason. We did our very first school workshop presentation, and we were talking to some
Right.
grade 3s, so 10-year-olds, 9-10-year-olds, and one kid, oh, who's your favorite superhero? And kids were like, oh, Batman, Wolverine. One kid's like Deadpool. We're like, okay. It's like, seen the movie? We're like, have you seen the movie? This is Deadpool first one. We're like, you shouldn't see that movie, kid. And he's like, I watch it all the time. We're like, don't watch that movie, kid.
As we were doing, he was showing me his sketches in his portfolio, like all the Deadpool machine guns and heads chopped off. I was like, all right, gotcha.
Okay.
Public health, maybe, or some
do you want to step in here?
Family services for maybe checking on this family here, make sure everything's okay. Yeah, fun stuff. One of like a nice Romita-ism, which is a little hard to see in this picture at the moment, is he iterates off of the Kirby Crackle, just like John Byrne did, like turning it in. He plays with like the side of the pencil, like these sort of blockier versions of power, where Kirby is the dots. Byrne starts to use like these blocks, and Romita Jr. does something similar too. So there was a lot of that effect.
I do like, and I also like the wind swirl towards the bottom half of the cover. Kind of psychedelic. It's kind of nice.
It is. It almost is like a version of wind that we will not see again, as like Romita figures out how he draws wind. Mm-hmm. This doesn't match his style. It feels like a psychedelic movie poster or a concert poster in those heavy swirls. But he figures out his lexicon as he moves along. One thing that is here though is like, the maybe you haven't heard of this, but have you heard about like the golden ratio?
Yeah, why do I know that? What is it again?
I'm not really qualified to explain it fast. I don't have the terminology. Perhaps David will.
And it's not something what we're talking
about then. Essentially, it is a way of breaking up a space in a perfect, like, mathematic curve. A Fibonacci spiral, yes. So it gets increasingly, smaller as it goes, but there's a certain look to it, and you see it on, not a trilobite, but like on those shell fossils, the way they kind of come into a certain. So Chuck is all into this. Look at that, he's going with a ratio of 1.68 to 1. There you go. And graphically, it's almost always a successful composition when you apply it properly in a given space. And this reminds me, like, oh, Romita has figured out about this, and he's using that exact shape to spiral out from the Xavier Institute down there up, to this scene. It's kind of interesting. It works, like it moves the eye along, and it breaks up the space really well, so it looks good. But that's what my first thought was when I saw this. The golden ratio, or the Fibonacci spiral. There you go.
There you go.
Yeah, all right. Shall we begin?
Shall we dive in?
I'm just going to ask for consideration once in a while here, as I'm experiencing a little bit of a head cold. So I might have to mute for a moment and blow the old nose, or we'll see if my voice holds up. But anyway, yeah, good looking cover.
Good looking cover.
Yeah.
Better looking Xavier.
Yeah, I thought this was a really funny way to begin. Like, this is the last thing I expected, given that last issue he was still sort of feeble.
Yeah.
And had that attack that Mystique was using, was it?
Yes.
For her to enter the mansion undetected, she was setting out like a pulse to overload Xavier's telepathy so that she could get close enough to strike at him and then get Rogue back, which she failed to do. And of course, Rogue helped save Colossus's life. So I'm actually into this issue. I want to see how she is. That's one of the first things on my mind is how is Rogue? How is she recovering?
Right, yeah. She left basically having absorbed his kind of cracked facade, right?
Yeah. So she's front of mind for me at the moment. Yeah, those X shorts, right, Jason? There you go. It's an odd placement for an X, but where else would you put it? Across the butt? I mean, what are you going to do? Yeah, so we get the credits just as we described. We get a little bit of Bob Wiacek helping at times, and I wonder if we're going to see a more conservative style, a more house style. But for the most part, it looks like we got a lot of Dan Greenbrush. Nothing else of note in the credits besides that. All right, Stanley presents Whose Life Is It Anyway? Starring the Uncanny X-Men. His name is Charles Xavier, and for the first time in decades, he can walk. And just out of curiosity, when you look at this, where do you think he is? What's your first?
In a gym, but
okay,
yes, a gymnasium of some kind.
Yeah, I was wondering. I actually reread this a couple times just to see if I could confirm, what I thought. Anyway, but there you go. It's Xavier shooting hoops. He always seemed like the basketball type.
Right? That was, without knowing what, if I had to choose a sport of all the sports, Professor Xavier, I wouldn't have chosen basketball. But hey,
what would you have chosen?
Cricket. Maybe something along those lines.
Cricket, sure.
Lawn bowling.
He does come across as like British aristocratic, although we always kind of, the more we know, he is American. He's just East Coast, right?
Yeah, he's East Coast, like that kind of blue blood aristocratic, American aristocratic, right?
And then we, of course, have moved him over to being British a lot of times in our minds because of Patrick Stewart.
Thank you, Sir Patrick Stewart.
But do people play cricket in like New England and
lacrosse?
Lacrosse,
he's a lacrosse guy.
Like not polo.
Oh, polo, yeah, it could be a polo.
I always imagined him as a fencer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. There we go. Good one. So he shoots maybe a 3-pointer and he yells "Score!" And I love that banner in the background. Xavier School basketball 72-73. Who do they play against? That's what I want to know.
The Brotherhood School.
Yeah. And then this is such a playful, like
Westchester State. Yeah.
Right. Such a playful, like Frank Miller panel. I imagine this like in a Daredevil.
Right. Like you're talking about the second panel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where we see what they call the DeLuca effect, like the different poses within, a very short moment of time. It just feels like there's a lot of Miller in John Romita Jr.'s approach to movement and storytelling, which is a good thing, right? That's the right person to learn from, of course. And they do eventually make a really great team up in that Daredevil limited series called Man Without Fear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which you gifted to me.
You got them all?
Yeah. I was missing 3, and I think I tracked it down at one of our bin hunting episodes.
Okay, good, and I'm looking forward to that getting reprinted on better paper,
right?
One day. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, David. Did Xavier School basketball win their own pennant? Yes, they did. They beat themselves.
Or did Xavier make them think they've played against somebody else?
Yes.
But right? Like how many things may have happened here?
And Chuck says Xavier's best sport is highlight. Yeah. Yeah, the idea that the basketball court has that viewing room, right? Like an operation auditorium. Yeah, I wasn't sure. So it threw me off. Okay, but let's we'll get into this here. This is so strange to see this from Xavier. The crowd roars as Xavier moves up court. Abdul-Jabbar attempts a steal because he's watching contemporary basketball. Of course he is. But Xavier slips past. What speed, folks. What grace and skill. This man's incredible. Time's running out. The championship's at stake. He reaches the 3-point line. He sets. He shoots. He laughs. So much for dreams of glory. But the lovely thing about fantasies is that you can always give yourself another chance. Yeah, Beast was a power forward. Beast would be, he'd be amazing. Obviously, that'd be.
I mean, look at that. He's got some game, Xavier. First of all, he dribbles right by Abdul-Jabbar. Okay. Guy, he's got some skill there.
And then, on to the next page. Ah! No! Blasted no! Not again! Do you hear? Leave me alone! Oh! Thank heaven. The pain's already fading. Of all these recent psychic attacks, this was by far the worst. I'm supposed to be one of the strongest telepaths known, but my power is nothing compared to this. I can't protect myself from it. I can't even locate its source. It's a scanning wave. We keep hearing about scanning waves.
We do.
Like, come on.
Yeah, he keeps mentioning it like it's something we know exactly what he's talking about.
What is it looking for? Me? Why? This force feels alien. But not merely to Earth, but to our very universe.
Does it not like basketball? What?
Professor. Huh?
This was, to be, like, I will just say before we turn the page, I laughed. This was, it's such a silly opening until he kind of, gets hurt. But I laughed a lot. Just the opening. I thought it was kind of a fun, kind of gaggy.
Yeah, it seems like someone is trying to have
silly stuff.
Yeah. I wonder if this was left to John Romita to decide what this was going to be. And then Claremont comes in with, he's like, hey, have him doing whatever sport you feel like drawing. He's like, I like basketball, so here we go.
Exactly.
Yeah. David says, I guess the sadder thing is Xavier School basketball haven't won their tournament in 10 plus years.
Right.
Yeah. Beast is the blue mound of rebound. Storm. I heard you cry out. Are you all right? I'll live, though I fear I'll ache in the morning. I understand how you must feel. Do you? Professor, you have only recently regained the use of your legs. Push yourself too hard, too quickly, and you could do yourself serious injury. Point well taken. I did let myself get a bit carried away. In future, I'll behave. It's for your own good. Professor, were you an athlete? Because I really don't think you were.
Right. I saw you shoot that brick from the 3-point line. And so I'm really guessing that you weren't an athlete.
I never imagined you to be any kind of athlete at all. In college, I loved sports, but I had to give it up. I could read the opposing team's thoughts, you see. I knew their plans the moment they did and was able to counter them with ease. It was a cruelly unfair advantage. It took all the joy out of the game. Under the circumstances, it would have been dishonorable to keep playing, so I quit. I hated my psi talent then. I'd have given anything to be rid of it. When I learned I could control the weather, I thought it was so wonderful. I had no conception of the responsibility such power entailed. But I soon learned. I wish the cost had not been so dear. Aurora, are you all right? Good question.
Good question. That's right.
Not according to Kitty. To her, I have become a monster. Well, you've certainly changed. For better or worse. How extraordinary. And this is going to get awful. How extraordinary. I never thought of Storm as a woman. She always seemed beyond such things. Yet looking at her now, that I've got my legs back and I feel all physical and charged, I suddenly find myself all too aware of how female and attractive she is.
Yeah.
True. You once considered yourself a goddess and acted accordingly, but there is no shame in simply being human. Speaking of being human, Are you familiar with the reproduction method of our species? I'm feeling a little randy. Yeah. Anyway, Claremont can't help it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. That when I read that, I just started rolling my eyes the first time. I'm like, oh God, come on.
Yeah, it's also kind of like, uh, what purpose does it serve? And it's
Yeah.
also kind of this idea that, yeah, it's kind of cringe. Yeah, cringy.
It is cringy, but it also could be, of course, like planting. Oh God, let me rephrase. It could be setting up an opportunity for conflict down the road, storytelling conflict.
Right.
The more um, balls in the air when we juggle, the more opportunities it is to do something down the road. So we'll see. I wonder. Perhaps I was better off living that lie. The difference is not cosmetic, Professor. My appearance is an expression of something deep within me, and at times this transformation frightens me as much as Kitty. I find myself casting aside precepts and beliefs that gave my life meaning, and hardly missing them once they are gone. I nearly killed Callisto of the Morlocks when we first fought. I would have done so during our second battle had I been given the chance. I, who once held all life sacred. Sometimes I think, I fear, I hope. I must be insane. My side probe reveals no mental illness. May I touch your balls?
May I touch your head without your permission?
Oh, yes.
Excellent.
Yes. Touching another bald head.
It's how I probe Psi-wise. Wonderful.
Yes, everyone knows I must make contact to use my powers. Yes. Yep, it got awkward. Chuck adds, the original X team was actually participating in a basketball tournament at Krakoa. Like, that's when they all get captured, that's why they were there. It was an away tournament. And that's where Charles puts his hand? Yep. I mean, anyway, just an odd. But anyway, we have to also remember, like, this is what Romita draws. Like, it's not, like, Claremont is probably putting in the dialogue after, but we know the plot points kind of going into the drawing process. So that's how it was. It's a two-person job, that moment, for sure. The monster. The mental illness. Good. That was merely a surface scan. However, for gross physiological anomalies. Is it a comma? It reads as one, pardon me. However, for gross physiological anomalies, I would have to probe far more deeply to learn the nature and extent of any purely emotional disorders. Even then, there's a limit to what I can or should do. It's tempting to meddle with people's minds, but I, too, learned a harsh lesson that for all my care and fine intentions, the consequences can be devastating and occasionally tragic. I can help I'll help as best I can, Aurora. No, Professor. For the present, I prefer to find my own path. But it has become the Wind Rider. It is to become the Wind Rider I once was, or accept that what I am is what I truly wish to be. Elsewhere. Looks grim, Kitty. They got you surrounded.
Wanna bet?
Pew, 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 pew.
I'm in the lead.
Only till my next turn. Watch it, Kitty. Or the Orgoids are grouping for another attack.
The Orgoids are like sleazoids, but on video games.
Oh, yeah. I wonder if anyone in the background is meant to be, like, recognized by us, but
Somebody,
I'm not able to pick it out.
Whoops. Thanks for the warning, Doug. The sucker almost nailed me.
My pleasure.
Uh-oh.
What happened?
I scored too many points. I must have overloaded the microchip running the game and crashed its system. Poor thing. That's all she wrote, kids. Take a hike.
Why? What'd we do?
Don't give me no lip, punk, or I'll bill you full for that game you broke. There's no need to get mad. I can fix it, no problem. I'll make the game better than ever. Sure you will. Look, I'm tired of you two brats hogging my consoles, playing for hours on one lousy quarter. You're ruining my business. I want you out, and I don't want you coming back ever. Creep. That just about makes it unanimous. We've been banned from every decent arcade in Westchester County.
What does his apron say?
Arcade. Big.
And then what?
Guide. Oh, no, wait. Jim. No, wait. Oh, that's a guide.
Yeah, I wonder what it's supposed to say. Like, arcade.
Definitely arcade. Boom. Like, I'm trying to think. Like, does it say anywhere where the... No?
I don't know. And I wonder if it's supposed to be like he's the guy with the give you change, like in his pockets, and he gives you quarters.
Mm-hmm.
But those are the days when you could smoke indoors.
Of course. And if you were an arcade king, you could, spend an afternoon on one quarter.
Sure.
I was never.
I love that we've had so many movies and television shows set in these spots now. Like the 80s mall is such a thing.
Right.
I'm of that age where I don't really remember before malls.
Right.
And so they were just a part of my world. But I realized it was like a big shift. Now that I'm older and have a different perspective, it was a shift, right? In retail and in community spaces, and it's kind of fun seeing them there, being all 80s. And I'm thinking of Stranger Things season 3, and even they go to the mall in X-Men Apocalypse. Of course, in later X-Men comics and in the cartoon, they go to the mall too. So it's kind of a fun X-Men trope.
Totally.
Kids at the mall. All right.
Kids at the mall.
Jason says, try that with Gauntlet. The worst quarter eater ever.
Hey.
Was that,
yeah,
mine was Dragon Slayer. Dragon Slayer was the worst quarter eater for me.
Actually,
I wonder if it was even more than a quarter to play it. But I couldn't even get more than one move in.
For me, it was either Gauntlet. I love playing the dwarf. Or Bad Dudes. That was the one that was at my local convenience store at the top of my street. Bad Dudes. It's gonna take a couple of bad dudes to save this town.
There you go. Chuck is second in my my notion. Dragon Slayer was worse. Yeah, it was terrible. You could probably get like 9 seconds into the game, and then every time
it was dead awful. Every time.
Is this a specific reference to something, David? Come on, Jessica. Come on, Tori. Let's go to the mall. You won't be sorry. Is that something?
It rhymes.
True.
It's meant to be like a song, maybe? Or... David will light.
David will tell us. David, you are like the king of the deep cut. And sometimes not even that deep a cut, just a cut. And I'm ignorant, so I don't always catch it. Anyway. Oh, the shame, the disgrace. However will we endure it? Whatever will we do? Our lives are at an end.
Keep your voice down, will ya? People are looking.
Okay, how about we drown our sorrows with lunch?
Sounds great to me. Doug Ramsey, you're a nut.
Hey, Pride. Takes one to know one. Is everything okay? It's like lately you've seemed awfully down. I was wondering if it had anything to do with me.
Oh, no, Doug, whatever gave you that idea? I like you. A whole lot.
Feelings mutual. So why the grumps?
It's Aurora. We first met, I thought she was the most beautiful person, inside and out, I'd ever seen. Then, last spring in Japan, because you know how we glow across the world, she cut her hair, changed her clothes. She suddenly got harder, tougher. The gentleness, the serenity was all gone.
Before we go further, two things. One, seeing this picture of her and like talking about the time period that this is and mentioning Stranger Things. Like, this is Millie Bobby Brown, no?
Yeah.
Like playing her, right?
Yeah.
Now totally. That's who I'm going to imagine for a little while, if that doesn't annoy anyone too much. Secondly, and more importantly, we don't have context as to what Doug knows and what Doug doesn't know.
Exactly.
The fact that she says she was in Japan, the fact that like she talks about Aurora like this. What does she think that Doug thinks she is, and her
Or what
relationship?
her life is like.
Yeah, going to Japan. I mean, maybe she says, "Remember that field trip that we went on, or like that
Right.
class trip?" Like,
Right.
what? I don't know what
Something a little
he
more
knows.
relatable.
Right. So I'm sure that if I'm a better researcher or reading it like I'm trying to understand everything, we could find that out. But we've kind of made a point of trying to just read what's on the page and not go too far into it and not like learn the entire history of every character. But we're sharing our experience of reading these things in real time. You know, although it's week to week, it's month to month in terms of how they're released. So we're not. It's not supposed to be like this encyclopedic show. It's an experiential one. We're sharing our journey through these classic issues in this classic time period. So given that, with what's on the page in this series, I do not know really who Doug Ramsey is, how he comes to be part of this narrative, and what he knows about Kitty's world. But we know he likes her a whole lot, and the feeling's mutual. So that's really nice.
And they're at the McDonald's. You see the MCD in the.
Yeah, I like those little nods, and just even from the drinks and like maybe are those like the cartons open up?
Yeah, those are those styrofoam cartons to me.
Yeah, the basket of fries though is very un-McDonald's, but
Very
un-McDonald's. David says, "How I Met Your Mother, Let's Go to the Mall" song. Okay, so I'm gonna go back. That is a deep cut.
Is that's one of the ones that? Oh yeah, Let's Go to the Mall. Yeah.
Is that a show that I'm supposed to have watched? By the way,
there's some excellent jokes in How I Met Your Mother.
Fair.
I mean, sitcom laugh track, right? But there are some very funny, and the character, of course, it's Colby.
Yeah. Kobe Smulders.
Thank you. It's that character.
Yeah, I mean, I know who
and the 80s stuff, and the her being Canadian and the 80s in Canada. They do some very solid jokes around that.
Oh, good. Okay, that's cool. So, Trevor, thank you. Yeah, Dragon Slayer started at being 75 cents too. I thought it was more expensive. So you'd put in your 3/4 and get burned right away. It was awful. So Jason says Doug's in the New Mutants. Okay, I know that he ends up there. I do not think he is there yet. Because if he was in the New Mutants at this point, he would be part of the Xavier Institute. And this issue we're reading now will show he's not part of the Institute yet. So he's a peripheral character. I think did she meet him at her dance class? He
was outside waiting for her last time, or at least was around the dance studio.
Right. So
maybe he's just a creep hanging around dance studio. I mean, have we considered that?
It is right. He's not a member of the team yet. So that's what I'm saying, is that it's not explicit in the X-Men series as to who and what Doug Ramsey is. He's just part of her life as we are reading, and that's totally okay. Totally fine. We're big boys. We can figure it out. But I also like to still keep it in the context of what's going on in the series. David adds, How I Met Your Mother doesn't super hold up, but we were all inexplicably into it for its first few seasons. Some jokes and songs do stand the test of time, though. Yeah, I love when there are those shows that seem to capture a little bit of maybe not the full zeitgeist, but at least the zeitgeist for a group of friends or a cohort of people. So it's kind of fun. But I did not watch it, but my sister-in-law did, and she was a big fan. So it was on in the house sometimes, but I never spent much time watching it. But a character's name is Barney. Am I right?
Yes.
There you go. See, I know everything. All right. So she says they went to Japan, and the Serenity was all gone. All right, we're going to start there.
Yeah.
Have her feelings for you changed?
I don't know. In a way, I don't really care because my feelings for her have. I can't help myself. I always figured that when you loved someone, it was forever. That didn't hold for my folks, but I thought it would for me and Aurora.
Now you're not so sure.
How can you love someone who scares you? She knew what she meant to me, how important she was. So why did she have to become different? It isn't right, Doug. It isn't fair. I'm sorry, I shouldn't dump this on you. It's just Aurora was so special, like my mom and best friend both, and now she's a stranger. I'm afraid, Doug. I'm afraid I've lost her forever.
I'm a friend too, Kitty. When you need me, I'll be here.
You mean that?
Scout's honor. By the way, I love these two panels. I think it's just a good drawing, like not overcomplicated, but like I get the sense that they have a mutual, not just affection, but like an emotional closeness with each other. It's nice.
Yeah.
It's good stuff. Want to hear some good news? That's enough about you. Let's talk about me.
Exactly. Jeez, Doug.
Or it's Doug's not actually a bad guy, but Claremont's got to move the issue along.
Yeah, I think so.
I've got an appointment next week at the Massachusetts Academy. I was hoping you'd come along to show me the school. You were a student there.
Only for a week. I hated it.
How come?
Chemistry, I guess. I wasn't cut out to be a preppy. More importantly, I'm an X-Man. And that school is run by the Health. Oh, right. This is in her mind. More importantly, I'm an X-Man, and that school is run by the Hellfire Club. I was just gonna say, like, originally, like, is she just telling him she's an X-Man?
Right.
Like, yeah. Anyway, our nastiest enemies, a bunch of evil mutants out to conquer the world. I can't let Doug go up there alone. Who knows what might happen to him? But if I go with him, a whole lot worse will probably happen to me. I've got to do something. But what?
Good question, Miss Headband.
Mm-hmm.
Professor Charles Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters. The students here are all mutants. They're gifts, the extraordinary abilities they were born with that set them apart from the rest of humanity. Some of them, such as Kitty Pryde and Aurora, are X-Men, part of the team of mutant superheroes founded by Xavier along with his school. No sound effect here, but there should be a good hearty chop.
Chunk job. Yeah.
Another member of the group, in many ways its mainstay, is Peter Rasputin, currently recovering from the wounds inflicted recently by the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. Man, he looks beat up.
Mm-hmm.
He shouldn't be doing this. He's supposed to be taking it easy. He couldn't care less. Way to go, Petey.
Eh? Wolverine.
That was a sight to behold, my young Russian friend. You really chopped the blazes out of that tree. And one-handed, too. Pretty impressive, big fella.
Don't you have something you'd rather do, Tovarish, or somewhere you'd rather be?
Nope.
Pity.
He's drinking a Molson Export.
He is, you're right. There you go. Deep cut.
When I was a kid and I went to Montreal, as a lot of us Ontarians did back then, because the drinking age was 18, whereas in Ontario
Still
it was 19.
is.
Yep. So me and my buddies, we went to Montreal via train and spent a weekend there in February of, I don't know, 1994 or something like that. Anyway, they things were getting a little bit culturally tense between the English and the French, and the bars there were not serving any Molson Canadian. So all the Molson product was Molson Export, was everywhere. So I drank my fill of Molson X that weekend, and I have not been able to have one since. You know what? Excuse me. You know when you drink too much of something, like you.
Of course. Too much of a good thing, my man. Too much of a good thing.
Or of a mediocre thing.
Or of mediocre.
Yeah, but yeah, I can't drink Molson X anymore. Just You got no business tearing yourself up over Kitty.
It's none of your concern.
You're both friends. That makes it my concern.
Do you know, Tovarish, that in Russia, she and I could be married now and raising a family? And by the way, does that creep you out?
No, it makes me just think he's old world, you know? Just like that is the reality of everywhere a long time ago. And he is from a place that maybe that was the case. And, you know, that's his context. Yeah. Is it inappropriate? Yeah, yes. Yeah. Okay. If that's what you want, it won't hurt to wait.
I thought it was, and that I could. It never entered my head that Katia felt differently.
She gave herself to the Morlocks to save your life, bub. I figure that gives a pretty good idea of where she stands.
I wish I was certain.
You scared, boy?
Douglas Ramsley is everything I am not, and can never be. Watching Kitty with him, listening to them, brings home some brutal truths. I am an ignorant peasant from a society and culture as alien to her as any we've encountered in space. Kitty was a dream, my friend. Perhaps it is time at last to wake up and face reality.
If that's what you truly believe, Peter, about yourself as well as her, you've lost already more than you know. I wish there was a transformation somehow in here for Peter from, you know, his regular organic self to organic steel.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's panel to panel, but it doesn't, like, it feels like when he's steel, is he still busted?
Right.
And does he heal when he's steel? Like,
right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't really know. And I kind of wish that it hurt him to change. Like it cost him something to go steel, but it doesn't show.
Mm-hmm.
But boy, oh boy, seeing him just like pick up that tree, like, no problem.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So basically, this is the creepy sex episode of X-Men. But everyone's intentions are good, except for Xavier.
You know, I mean, it could be. I mean, we already had the horniest issue. That was the one with Scott and Madeline a couple issues.
Yeah.
We're just apparently Claremont's in a space right now.
True. The Bronx Botanical Gardens. That's the toughest sounding botanical gardens of all time.
Yeah, it is.
The Bronx Botanical Gardens. The afternoon is chill and overcast with more than a hint of snow in the air. The majestic trees that crowd the park are now stripped to bare branches, the ground beneath them frozen rock hard. Speaking of rock hard, Colossus is armored. Okay. After a splendid Indian summer, winter has come to New York with a vengeance. But inside the vast greenhouses, time seemingly stands still, and the inexorable march of the seasons is denied. Flowers are in bloom, covering the floor with a carpet of truly living color, and filling the air with their glorious, heady scent. Aurora comes here often to visit old dear friends, the blossoms that once graced her attic loft at Xavier's school. Yeah, just choices with her attire, like the garter belt.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just, taken aback. Missed me, my little ones. It is good to see you too. How do you like your new home? Are you being treated well? In many ways, this place reminds me of my old home in Africa. Because, you know, most of us refer to where we are from in the continent. Like, wouldn't she say in Kenya or
more local than that?
Yeah, Africa. I guess she is from more than one place in Africa, though. Maybe right. She goes from Cairo.
My old home in continental Europe.
Yeah,
right.
I guess. Yeah, maybe I should just shut up. How beautiful and peaceful that was, to live in perfect harmony with nature. I feared not long ago that I had lost that special rapport with the earth. But on my first trip to these gardens, indeed my first steps into this greenhouse, I realized that I am as aware of life as I ever was. I'm just looking at that house she's got like a Tarzan style house in the tree.
In a tree. Yeah.
With a brick chimney.
Yeah, and a rope.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
It's like a kid. It's like out of a kid's mind.
Yeah, Swiss Family Robinson.
Right.
I always wanted to live in those tree houses. You too?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the one you can visit the one at like the Disney parks that's like based on it, and it's kind of like there's a lot in here, including a player piano. Huh.
I think I'm a little bit too accustomed to running water. I'm
Right.
too soft. Yeah, plumbing. Only now, it no longer seems to matter. Part of me yearns for the peace and innocence of my youth. But if what I was and what I had was so right, how then could I turn my back on it, give it up so completely, so easily? What is that? You are thirsty? Forgive me, small ones. I did not realize I was thinking too much about myself. A moment's concentration is all the mutant elemental needs to mix and cool the air above her flowers and create a miniature rainstorm. But then...
What are you doing? Leave us alone! Ah!
A voice crying out in pain. I must go, friends. I may be needed elsewhere.
Your old man shouldn't have got uppity, lady.
All we wanted was some bread.
Please, I'll give you the money.
You want to do that guy too?
Sure. Not good enough! You want to save the man? You gotta make us real happy.
I suggest you leave these people alone.
Huh? Who?
And be on your way.
Get her, Shades!
What? She's what's her name from All in the Family. That's ridiculous. And then again, you see shades of, speaking of shades, shades of Romita on Daredevil, right? With Typhoid Mary, like that style attire. It's like this is a precursor to how he's going to be drawing women for the rest of the decade. Or you will answer to me.
Whoa, party time tonight, eh, bro? Fox, you just made one big mistake.
No babe tells the Russia Street Rebels what to do. Oh, really? Yeah, that's right, Chris. Chuck says you sound like Salacious Crumb.
If Salacious Crumb spoke English.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's
Hold that pose, sweet. Hey. Against such foes, bare hands should suffice. More fun, too. As I destroy property.
Throws him through a plate glass window.
Oh, yeah. It's the 80s, man. We were throwing people through plate glass windows right
All
left and
the
center.
time.
That's just what we did. We walked around in jackets, pulled knives, said to each other things like, that's not a knife.
You had tough gang names like the Russia Street Rebels.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
She did Nico.
She must know judo or something.
Big deal. Nobody, no gang, no cop, and especially no broad does that to a rebel gets away with it. Cut her.
Tell me something. Have you seen the SNL skit when I believe Robert Downey Jr. was host? And it's in the era where Will Ferrell, Norm Macdonald, like early Will Ferrell era.
Yeah.
They do a skit that is West Side Story homage, where
oh yeah. Yeah.
Where
Norm Macdonald's like, hey, wait, what are you doing?
Every time they talk about like a plan on how to get the other gang, everyone breaks into a song to explain what they're gonna do. And he's like, "Hey, what are you doing right there?" And they're like, "What do you mean?"
Yeah.
And then he's aware that that it's weird for them to be breaking the song. And eventually, it gets really, really funny. And the songs go out of hand, and the dancing the men do is really funny. And they come across the other gang, and it's like the Cobras.
Yeah.
And maybe it's the Tigers or because one group is doing like a cat.
Yeah.
And
It's like, yes.
it's really funny, especially watching when Will Ferrell does his dance. It
of course.
kills me. He's such a scene stealer in those days. Anyway,
Oh, yeah.
so this reminds me of like those kinds of guys. They're ready for a street fight that is a dance fight.
Oh,
and yeah, but nope, Storm is actually going to kill them all.
Yeah, throw him through as many plate glass windows
Oh,
as
yeah.
you can.
It will take better men than you to even come close. The fourth man is moving in from behind. I must pivot just so, as Wolverine taught me, and let my opponent's own momentum do the rest as he disappears into a tree. Beware.
Into a bush of man-eating poison oak.
I love that. It's such a cartoon thing. Like once you enter into the edge of a tree, like you are consumed by
That's it.
Yeah, the tree. It's funny. Wow, there's a lot of Storm in this one.
There is.
Finally, the coup de grace. A little something for them to remember me by. As I summon lightning and I'm going to kill everyone here. Over the greenhouse. And only the greenhouse. The sky turns black and ugly. Lightning flashing brighter than the sun. While massive claps of thunder shake the earth. To complete the effect, Aurora herself enshrouds herself in St. Elmo's fire.
Gonna be a St. Elmo's fire.
And then the muggers as well. What? Can you help me out here?
Sure.
He obviously, the movie is referring to a fire that Claremont is referring to. What is St. Elmo's fire? This is a Christian thing?
It's a reproducible. St. Elmo's fire is a weather phenomenon in which luminous plasma is created by a corona discharge from a rod-like object, such as mast, spire, chimney, or animal horn in an atmospheric electric field.
Who's St. Elmo?
Well, great question. Okay, let's see where it comes from. This is what Wikipedia is telling me. But there you go. But who's St. Elmo, right? Like,
and he discovered this phenomenon, perhaps?
I don't know. It goes back to ancient Greece. And I don't know if there'd be saints at that point. So no. So, I mean, let me just bring it up here.
It's funny how it was just a term of the time. We call something St. Elmo's fire. Like, we don't use it anymore, you know?
Interesting. And the movie doesn't come out to a year after this comic book, by the way. So there you go. Yeah, I don't know who. Yeah, can't find out. But I mean, John Parr was the singer who sang St. Elmo's Fire. Parentheses, Man in Motion, close parentheses.
Wasn't there a St. Elmo in Alpha Flight special? I don't know.
I want there to be a St. Elmo.
St. Elmo's.
Wait, did Elmo? Here's a better question: did Elmo ever sing St. Elmo's Fire in Sesame Street? Because if that never happened, that was a missed opportunity.
Jason says St. Elmo's Fire is named after Saint Erasmus of Formia.
Erasmus, man,
I'm going to tell you something.
Everything.
I've been to Formia. How crazy is that? Wow. I never get to say that. It's an Italian town on the Mediterranean between about maybe an hour outside of Naples.
Okay.
There you go.
I
got the worst sunburn of my life.
I knew a priest who's was like a theologian, and his whole work was based on the work of Erasmus. Wow.
There you go. I got the worst sunburn of my life in Formia, and
you had the worst what in your life in Formia?
Sunburn of my life in Formia, and the best pizza I've ever had in my life in Formia.
Oh, interesting. Okay, there you go.
Yeah. My girlfriend, now wife, we have great memories of our time there. There you go.
There you go.
Formia, anyway, that's a long time. St. Elmo, love you.
I love you. Tickle St. Elmo.
We're really going off the rails here. John Parr's other hit, Naughty Naughty.
Naughty Naughty.
Which is on brand for this issue.
Totally on brand.
Oh, mass is going on. There was a I just put up the comic. Half-Life Special 1992.
Oh, so
That's
good.
hilarious.
So good.
I was out of reading comics in 1992, unfortunately, so I missed that one. But there you go. That is too funny.
So good.
So, St. Elmo's fire. She enshrouds herself in St. Elmo's fire, and then the muggers as well. I suggest, gentlemen, you renounce your evil ways. If you do not, I shall learn of it, and be very angry. With luck, you should see no more of them. Are you hurt, sir? Can I help you? Or can I help?
You've done more than enough, thank you. We don't want to be any more trouble. We'd best be going ourselves.
I saved their lives, yet they are more terrified of me than the thugs who attacked them. I should be used to that. It ought not to hurt. Storm! Return home at once. Something urgent has come up, and I'm hearing of St. Elmo's fire on the news. What the F did you do?
Storm, allow me to touch your head once more and sing to you about St. Elmo's fire.
Trevor says,
Oh, Archie!
and so later that evening.
Oh, hold on. There we are.
Doug's a good friend. I don't want him falling into the clutches of the Hellfire Club. He wants someone with him for this interview. Who knows the Massachusetts Academy and whose judgment he trusts? I'm flattered he asked me. I'd like to go. I believe the risk is minimal. The club's in disarray, its effective membership reduced to Sebastian Shaw and Emma Frost, and so far as we know, she's still in a coma. If Professor Xavier monitors me telepathically, he'll know the instant I run into trouble, and you guys can act accordingly. Even Shaw isn't crazy enough to tackle the entire X-Men single-handedly. Well, I mean, I think we can agree that he is crazy enough to take on the X-Men. If I behave myself and not give the Hellfire Club any reason to take action, I should be okay.
I wonder why the Academy is so interested in young Douglas. Could they know he's a mutant?
What?
His gift is languages, both human and computer. Not as demonstrative a talent as mind reading or phasing, but legitimate nonetheless. Your opinion, Storm?
I think he'll be worthless in the field.
You might think, but maybe you could push it to. He could also communicate with body language. Oh.
All right, I like where this is going.
I do not like the idea of Kitty walking into the enemy camp by herself, but her plan covers every contingency. With reservations, I approve. As do I. I do not think her plan covers every contingency.
No, I mean, no, not really.
I also love Xavier's kind of glib response about him being a mutant, about Doug being a mutant. It's like, yeah, he's really good at languages. So not like, oh, yes, Cerebro detected he has a mutation.
Right.
Like, that's the proof. This is just he's good at something, really good at something. It doesn't make him a mutant.
Right.
But anyway.
Wow, Doug's a mutant? Who'd have thought it? I wish I could tell him, but the professor says it's safer in the long run that he not know. His is a quiet power, more suited to the real world than the X-Men. Bit odd there that maybe he hasn't come to understand that perhaps he has an easier way with certain things.
Sure.
But makes sense with a telepath around, especially now that Professor Xavier can walk again and go with us on missions and play basketball. The tournament's going to be back next year. I can't wait. A linguist really isn't that necessary. Gee, if the prof does come along, who will be in charge, him or Storm? How will she feel if he takes over? It's awfully breezy all of a sudden. Someone leave a window open? Hey, it's a wind. Sweeping me along. Can't stop myself. Aurora, cut it out.
It is past time, kitten. We had a talk. far from prying eyes or ears or minds.
How high up are we? It must be miles. You could have just asked. There's no need to be such a show-off. You scared me half to death.
The storm you prefer would not have done so, correct?
That's right.
So, for your peace of mind, I must force myself to be something I am not?
It's a whole lot better than what you are. Why did you change, Ro? I don't understand.
Nor do I. The longer I remained an X-Man, the more I came into conflict with what I thought was my fundamental self. Was I a goddess or X-Man? And if an X-Man, could I find a place for the precepts that defined the goddess life? Initially, I believed yes. Then I became team leader and discovered within myself, as Scott Summers had before me, the terrible capacity to, if necessary for the greater good, sacrifice the lives of those I loved. Should the need arise, I find I can match Wolverine for ruthlessness.
You sound proud of that.
I merely state a fact. My doubts and the needs that sprang from them have existed a long time, but I lacked the courage to give them full voice, and a fledgling wanting desperately to fly, but not knowing how, until that night in Tokyo, when Fate and Wolverine's friend Yukio conspired to push me off the edge.
Into the air or into the abyss?
Who knows? Life involves growth, and growth, continual change. You may not like those changes, but you cannot run from them. You must face them, child.
No. Some things shouldn't change. They should be constant. It was bad enough my parents couldn't keep the promises they made to each other, but I thought I could count on you.
By what right? Kitty, I am your friend. I pray I shall always remain so, but that is all. I am not, must not be, your mother. I used to believe I could play that role to fill a void in each our lives, but that was a mistake.
Don't you love me?
With all my heart. But you have other demands on your heart, your love, do you not? You take such freedom for yourself. Why do you deny to me? We each have our lives to live, our own roads to walk, to our individual destinies. Friends and lovers may walk by our side, but ultimately, the journey is made alone. I am learning things about myself I do not like, but I must keep learning, striving to find my true self, my place in the scheme of things. I must know who I am. I must live my life as I see fit. If you love me, kitten, you must let me do so.
I'm scared, Aurora. Will it happen to me too, like this? If I fall in love, will it only be for a while? Or worse, will the person I love stop loving me? I can't bear seeing you destroy yourself.
Perhaps I am infected with a kind of madness, but for the first time in my adult life, I can laugh and cry. I can feel to the fullest extent of my being, without having to deny that emotion and cast it out for what I thought was my own good. Bear with me, Kitty. Stand by me. I need the strength of a true friend. Even if, in the days that to come, that strength may be the ability and willingness to let me go. Can you do that?
I'll try.
There you go. Wow.
Yeah.
Trevor adds, Doug later went on to become a programmer and the man responsible for calling GIF GIF. Yep. Doug was always a douche. Man, the queer coding in this issue is interesting, says Chuck. I have to admit, I feel very out of my depth when this narrative or these narratives come up in X-Men comics. I just don't usually. It's usually not my first reaction is to like spot that kind of coding, like queer coding. I seem to always kind of read it at face value. I think only in hindsight, am I looking back on things and seeing some of those ways of interpreting, and especially with like the amount of conversation that exists in the world today about X-Men and the huge range of interpretations and the really strong queer coding that a lot of people interpret. It's just for me, I almost never go there first unless like I'm going with that through. If I'm looking at it through that lens to begin with, I see it like almost literally as Claremont is presenting it in the text, like not subtext. I'm just reading it as two members of the team, but through another lens, like it is pretty potent that that those pieces are there for someone who's looking for that, or it just interprets it differently than I do, for sure. There's like podcasts and lots of posts about these kinds of things. It is very interesting. But that's one of the things maybe that makes X-Men such a beautiful series, is that it is very human, and it reflects it reflects like what you bring to it. So to me, everyone's Canadian is basically what I'm trying to say. Even Storm and Kitty and that airplane. LaGuardia Airport the following week.
Oh, cripes, I've forgotten something. I know it. Once going to the moon catching. Massachusetts is, I believe, part of the civilized world. And you can always have us send a care package. Really, Nightcrawler, you're a prince. I guess it's time. I already miss you. Peter, give me a kiss for luck. Have a nice trip, Katya. Take care. What'd I do? Why is Peter acting so strangely? He's so uncomfortable when I'm around. Doesn't he care for me anymore?
No, dude, you're going on a trip with another man.
Huh?
Like,
Yeah.
Of course he's giving you space. He sees it as like, and why am I talking back? Never mind. Hey, Kitty, no need to look sad. We'll only be gone a week. You okay? You crying? You crying?
Don't be stupid. It's just something in my eye.
I'm excited. I mean, the school sends a private jet to fly us up there? Wait till the gang at home hears about this. They'll croak. Who's the gang at home? Where does he live?
It was that gang we saw earlier. That's the twist. Is that actually Doug is head of that gang?
I'm glad you're happy.
I'll feel like a real louse if I turn out not to like the academy.
Cross that bridge, hotshot, when you come to it. No sense worrying till then. I wish I could take my own advice. I feel like a scout in territory. Wondering when I'll get ambushed. At this rate, the Hellfire Club won't have to do anything to me. I'll turn myself into a nervous wreck. This is stupid. My plan covers every contingency. Professor Xavier said so. Nothing can go wrong.
On behalf of the Massachusetts Academy, Douglas and Catherine, I welcome you aboard.
That voice. It can't be.
How nice to see you again, Catherine. I've been so looking forward to our reunion. I'm ever so glad you decided to accompany Douglas. I've taken the utmost care to ensure that your stay with me is quite unforgettable.
Emma Frost, the White Queen. Professor Xavier, help!
Okay, the picture of her second panel from the left, I welcome you aboard panel.
Yeah.
Again, it's Millie Bobby Brown. She fit right into this role.
Right.
Yeah.
So what's Doug's name later on in the New Mutants or whatever? What's Cypher is his name?
Yeah. Cypher.
And he can read languages?
He can do languages, yeah. He's like a universal translator. He's very computer savvy.
Right.
Right? And he has a really beautiful friendship with the character Warlock.
Yes.
That techno-morphing character.
Yes, that thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And when we get to do some New Mutants, some Art Adams New Mutant stuff, we'll talk some more about that. Really weird effect with that screen tone that's applied, that vertical screen tone.
Super weird.
Yeah, it makes me think she's a hologram. That's like how
That's what
I read that right away.
Yeah, exactly.
Hologram, but not the case because she's moving the curtain. And she's really taken a page out of like Arcade's wardrobe, kind of.
Yeah.
With a lady pantsuit.
Lady pantsuit.
She's like a female Arcade hologram. That's my thought about her. Why did we leave the airport so suddenly, Professor? Why have we come to Central Park? That storm is what I hope to discover. These past weeks, I've encountered a series of psychic scanning waves of incredible power and seemingly extraterrestrial origin. I've no idea who's responsible or what they're seeking. But tonight, suddenly, I've been able to pinpoint its source. The sheep meadow. We're being attacked by sheep in a meadow. Lords of the earth and air.
Unglaublich. Comrade Professor, how could anything so huge appear in the middle of New York without being noticed?
What next, Charlie? I suppose, Wolverine, we'll see what's inside, eh? Before Kitty's cry for help can reach Xavier, he and the X-Men find themselves drawn en masse into the titanic construct, try as they might with all their might to resist. And once within the gate, they vanish from the earth, from reality as they know it, perhaps never to return. Kitty's saga continues in New Mutants number 15, on sale in 2 weeks, while the X-Men's continues in The Secret Wars, on sale soon, and next month in Tokyo Story. Turn the page, my friend.
Bum, bum, bum.
Bum, bum, bum. Hold that if you don't mind.
Yeah, you are.
Let's see, what can I get here? Okay, hold on. So that is a pretty awesome segue. And have you ever read Secret Wars?
No.
Okay, I'm not going to judge you for being a bad person.
Never read Secret Wars.
Holy smokes. I don't know if I can do this on air. Jeepers. Well, so you can see there, the X-Men have basically gone into a portal that takes them somewhere else. So like a battle world kind of thing. But you notice in this amazing ad drawn by Mike Zeck, the characters that are there. Can you name the X-Men that you see?
I see Cyclops. I see Rogue. I see the Wolverine. I see Nightcrawler. I see Storm and Colossus.
Okay. Who is underneath Nightcrawler?
She-Hulk?
No,
sorry.
Under Colossus.
Oh, yeah, it's Kitty. Yeah, you're right. Kitty's there.
It's Kitty. So,
Yeah.
And where is Kitty right now?
With Doug.
Right. So she's not there.
Weird.
So if you've ever read, Secret Wars, you know that Kitty Pryde is not in it. She's removed. So this is, to scale, the original art by the amazing Mike Zeck. And you can see Kitty's there.
Yeah.
Drawn on the original one, as is Thor.
Yep.
Up top, and Mr. Fantastic.
Right.
And they were removed from the final version. So, although Thor and Mr. Fantastic... What's that?
Like as a surprise kind of thing? Like they're going to add it later?
No, they just don't fit on the art when they go to publication. Zek drew too much.
Look at that, eh?
And so to clean it up, they take Thor out, they take Mr. Fantastic out, and it fits like the title photocopy piece, like that thing that's stuck in there is relatively big. So it blocks where Thor and Reed Richards are. And Kitty is taken out of the series as she doesn't go on the mission with them. So there is original art where you can see, obviously, she's in there. Even original page art that she's in later has to be corrected. And they switch in one of the scenes, like it's her, and it's switched for Wasp. I can show you, actually. So here's like a double splash of all the characters there.
Yeah.
And you can see Wasp next to Cyclops.
Oh, yeah.
So that was Kitty Pryde.
And there's Charlie.
Yes, in the wheelchair. Because there's not good continuity between everybody. So you can see there's like talk about changing it to Wasp. So they've made, this was Kitty Pryde, and you can see, I don't know if you can see there's like more white on it. They've changed her costume. They've changed her legs. They've made it so that it's Wasp instead of Kitty. So that's where she was originally drawn in. Yeah. Anyway, it's neat. That's a crazy. That one's in Mike Zeck's Classic Marvel Stories Artist Edition.
Wow.
My goodness. Let's change the view back for my own sanity. Thank you. Chris is looking through the Romper Room mirror. Yeah.
I see Nightcrawler, and I see Davy, and I see...
Right. Yeah. So Kitty's on the cover. But I'm trying to remember if she's on... It might not be in the room anymore. I might have returned it to another spot in the house. I don't remember if she's on the real printed cover or if it's just that version. Is she on the real cover? The one that sees print?
No, she's not.
Are you looking at it somewhere else?
I am. Like on the
Wikipedia.
You go. Number 1. She's not on the cover.
So she's on this early printed thing, but doesn't go.
Right.
Romper Room, yes. And Kitty, yes. Chuck says, I hated Secret Wars because it felt like a ripoff of Crisis on Infinite Earths. Yeah, I wasn't aware of Crisis on Infinite Earths at the time. I just really wanted those action figures because I loved action figures as a kid. And I didn't get a chance to read the comic for a very long time. I thought I remembered Reed being it. Reed is in it. Don't get me wrong. He's just removed from the cover art. Thor and Reed are removed from the top of the cover art to fit. But they're both in the series completely. Tony Stark didn't go either. That's Rhodey in the armor. Yes. I think the common misconception is more like the action figure. People don't realize it's a Rhodey action figure. But if you read the book, you know the whole time that it's Tony. I mean, sorry, that's Rhodey, not Tony. And Crisis was 85. But that doesn't mean that a person would read it in its publication date. Like you could read Crisis first and get your hands on Secret Wars later.
Right.
To think that one is ripping off the other. But either way, you know.
Totally.
Yeah. So much fun to see all that stuff play out. Yeah, Secret Wars. Now, where's Jason Lowe? That's the important question. Jason Lowe, where are you? What are you doing? You're at a Halloween party, aren't you? Speaking of which,
dressed as the Multiple Man.
Yeah, we have a couple friends who went to a party on the weekend dressed to a shitty X-Men party, and we got to see some photos on social media. Our friend Allison O'Toole and her lovely husband Jeff were dressed as Cyclops and Madeline Pryor. And Allison as Cyclops was like amazing, and they were supposed to be shitty costumes. But the best is like her hair is similar to yours in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons I love that photo of you guys on a panel together. By the way, it was like a bunch of views.
We should have done a back-to-back.
True. But yeah, Jeff in the wedding dress with the redhead wig. Magneto figure.
Yep.
The new Magneto figure. I'm going to open up this one. Just one quick thing, like difference between them. The length of cape. You can see on this one, it's like mid-calf.
Mm-hmm.
This one does not stand by itself without the cape interfering on the ground.
Right.
So it's been like a big thing to try and get a new Magneto where the cape doesn't like ride up on him or whatever, and he has more shoulder movement without bumping the cape. And there's some issues kind of with the face a little bit where...
Oh, yeah, look at him.
Well, he's pretty intense. This one's not so bad. But the plain face one is a little weird. I also brought with me this
an Eric.
Very 90s Eric Lencher flowing hair one. But I got this one. I'm loving the series of figures. This is the third I've got so far. I grabbed that Awesome Storm. Love the long mohawk on that. Can't wait to see her in the show. Got the Awesome Wolverine, who's just a phenomenal figure. And now I got old Magneto here. Nice. I'm hoping that my local store still has Bishop, because even though I make no secret of it, I don't care for the character. The figure is phenomenal. And I'm hoping that the new series will maybe all like Bishop on the show. Other than, I've watched the episodes of Days of Future Past with him so often on the animated series where he's like, Tracker, Assassin, like all that stuff. So I've never really enjoyed Bishop. And I didn't read the comics with him, so he's not meaningful for me there. But I'm hoping the new show... Come on now. Charles. Let's... How can I not like him? He's from the future. But why can't I remember? Yeah, it wasn't... It's not that I don't like him. It's that he doesn't mean anything to me. So a like has to be earned, like you have to... There has to be something about the character I like. And so he doesn't have anything about... Bishop, that is. There's nothing about the character that I like. Until now. That action figure is amazing. So I'm hoping to get that one. But why? Why can't I remember? I'm not posing him nicely because I'm on camera at the moment. But this is a really nice one with, pinless joints, which is just a little bit smoother than the previous one. Previously in X-Men figures, where you see the pins. What's that?
He's ripped.
He is. He's very powerful looking. The purples are a tiny bit different. This one for TV. This one was comic book styles. Red gloves versus purple gloves, for better or for worse. And the new one has like shadow under the mask painted on,
right,
to make it look like it's just all dark in there. But why? Why can't I remember? Assassin. Yeah. But yeah, new Magneto figure. Now I get to sell my old one, which is nice.
Cool.
Secondary market time. Yeah. You think you're going to get any X-Men figures one day?
I don't know, maybe.
The Wolverine. I think you got to get a Wolverine.
Maybe get a Wolverine.
Or
I've got some of the little 3.5 inch.
True. That's true.
Yeah, I think I probably should get some actual decent.
Just like the voices you do. If they ever do a new Nightcrawler, new Colossus, yeah, you got to do it.
Banshee.
Yeah, that guy from the gang.
Archie.
So, 2 things to plug this week.
Sure.
Ready?
Do it.
Thursday night at the Whitby Public Library, you and I are doing a comic creator workshop. So if anyone is in the southern hemisphere, southern Ontario, especially in the east end of the GTA, Whitby or Oshawa or Pickering or Ajax, coming out to the Whitby Public Library, 7 o'clock. And we're going to be doing a workshop there on how to get started on creating comics. Something you and I have both done together, and we've had a great success by our own measure of creating comics and getting that stuff done. So that'll be Thursday night this week. And then Saturday is WITCAF, the Whitby Library's Comic Arts Festival, which is now... I don't even know how many years running it is, but we appeared at our first one in 2017. where we debuted the first issue
Mhm.
of Group of Seven Comics. And now we're
Way back
debuting
when.
the trade paperback collecting the first 6 issues. This is the expanded edition
That's
with
right.
lots of bonus material and some new content as well. A beautiful new edition we're very happy with. So we'll be debuting this. This will be the first show where we'll be tabling with this book on Saturday, November
4th.
and that'll be all day at the Whitby Library. It's a Central Library, is that what it's called?
I think so.
I think our friend Jerome Cabanatan will be there.
Sounds like.
I actually have not looked to see who else is going to be there.
Friend of the show, Jay Torres, will be there.
Oh, yeah.
Who was a guest a few weeks back as well. So
That's true.
Yeah.
Have you looked to see who else is going to be there?
I know. Also, friend of the show, Dan Collins, will be there. Aside from that, I haven't really had too much of a look.
No, I don't even think I've seen like a post with everyone's name or anything.
Right.
I should look into that. After that, we've got in a couple weeks,
Well,
The
actually,
Hero's Tale.
Sunday we've got. I'll be at the Guelph Book Bash here.
Oh,
for a few hours down at the farmers market, slinging books.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then in about 3 weeks, I think,
Something like that.
we're going to be at The Hero's Tale in, I always want to say it's in Kitchener, but it's
Cambridge.
in Cambridge, Ontario, not far from Kitchener.
No, part of the Tri-City area.
Sure. And then the next day, Mississauga Comic Expo, MCX, at the Living Arts Center in Mississauga. We'll be there. It's a busy month.
Busy month.
Yeah.
October is quiet. November's busy.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm looking forward to all these dates. I, of course, am not going to be at the Hero's Tale one. I got to make sure I clarify with the owner there that you're going to be there and I'm not.
Okay.
Because it's a Saturday and I'm teaching.
Yeah.
But that being said, why can't I remember? Yeah.
Why?
Hey, what happened to Leafs tonight? Do you know?
Yeah, they lost 4-1.
That's unfortunate, 2 games in a row. But man, those Kings, I hate those helmets so much. Anyway, it's 11:02.
11:02. Well, we started a
Oh, we
little
did-
late tonight.
True.
Because
So-
of the Halloween.
Next week,
Yeah.
we should probably talk about New Mutants 15.
Okay.
Do you want to talk about what happens in Secret Wars?
I mean, at some point, I'm sure I should read it.
Well, you should, kind of. Unless you want to do a recap, like I don't know, we should talk about this. But for our audience, I think it's important that we at least know what happens to the characters if they have any kind of arc at all.
Well, we should, yeah, and we're 2 episodes away. Like, this is 98, so we're 2 from 100. So we should think about that too. Number 100, what are we going to do for that?
Eat a pizza.
Shirtless reading.
I'm doing that.
Eating
right
pizza.
now.
Eating pizzas.
Oh yeah, okay. Sure, this eating pizza.
So greasy. I can only wipe my chest.
This is a terrible idea, Chris.
Yeah.
I appreciate us having the time together to do this tonight. It's been good hanging out with you.
Yeah, man.
We
Always.
should let everybody go.
We should.
We've been really
I
happy to
just
see
quickly
you.
want to say a shout out to somebody, a new subscriber, Mark Anthony. Thanks for subscribing. Appreciate it. That's all I
The
wanted to
Mark
say.
Anthony.
Yeah, like ex Jennifer Lopez Mark Anthony. That's how I'm thinking.
Nice.
Right? Big X fan. Big X.
Yeah. Now, I mean, to be fair, we've all been married at one point to Jennifer Lopez, so it's,
That's true.
it's only appropriate
That's
he
true.
joins.
That's true.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually was just talking about that today with somebody.
Really?
That she's one of like the only celebrities whose like famous bows I'm actually aware of. Like I know who and
Right.
when.
Right.
Yeah, she's been on my radar for a long time. For a
Triple
variety of
threat.
reasons.
She's a triple threat. Okay.
I only for one reason. Yeah, there you go. Guys,
Cool.
thanks for hanging out with us tonight. It's been fun. I'm really looking forward to getting some deep sleep. Knocking out with some NyQuil. And
Nice.
there you go. So we'll see you next time. Of
See you
course.
next time.
Thank you for hanging out with us. And that's it for the night. So everyone stay safe, go eat some Halloween candy, and we'll see you next week for episode 99. I got a jersey in mind for that one. Can you guess which one?
Nope.
No.
No.
Yeah, my Johnny Bauer.
Is it Wolf Paymont?
My Wilf. Deep cut.
Deep
Well
cut.
done.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. Take care, and thanks for the hang, and we'll see you next time. Previously on X-Men. We'll be reading issue 181, maybe? I think. All right. Cheers. Everyone take care. X-Men.